I'm Adelle Waldman, and I'm the author of The Love Affairs of Nathaniel P. Yeah, for me, 19th century authors were hugely influential. I discovered Jane Austen and George Eliot in my early 20s, a little bit after most people did in college or high school, but they changed my life, I feel like, in terms of, I got so much insight about how they wrote about people and characters, and it wasn't just about writing. For me, it was a way of thinking about myself and my friends and my own life. So I spent my 20s really reading a lot of 19th century fiction. I guess Austen, Eliot, also Stendhal, Flaubert, Tolstoy. And now I'm in my 30s, and I honestly probably had to make an effort when I decided I was going to start writing a novel to read more contemporary fiction too. And I'd say probably of more contemporary authors, my favorite is probably Jonathan Franzen. I love Richard Yates, the author of Revolutionary Road. That came out in the 50s. Maybe it's not quite contemporary, but you know, it's got televisions and cars in it, so compared to a 19th century novel, it feels modern. So I recently reread Philip Roth's Sabbath's Theater, and I was blown away by it. So I can't stop talking about it to anyone who will listen. This is a 1994 novel. It won the National Book Award. So it's not some obscure book that I have just stumbled upon, but wow, I'm often, or almost always, blown away by Roth. He's just so brilliant a writer, and it's like no matter what his subject is, he just brings it to life. But Sabbath's Theater, it's a story, it's this sort of perverse old man. He's like a 65-year-old man who's sort of sex obsessed and lonely. He's cheating on his wife. He's not a likable narrator, and not much happens in it, but it's just a brilliant, moving, beautiful, funny, sad book. And it just amazes me that Roth can make a character who seems so sort of simple and unappealing into something so complicated and wonderful. Yeah, I'm sympathetic to the idea, the hunger for a likable narrator. I know as a reader, I have sometimes felt that I wanted to know in a book like who to root for, who to care about. It gives you something to read for. So as a reader, I can sympathize with that. It's funny though, as a writer, I'm often on the other side where I'm very interested in people who aren't necessarily that sympathetic, and I don't necessarily want to write a story of an underdog who it's easy to root for because you want them to get what they want. So I'm often torn, and what I find is sometimes I have to admit, when I started Sabbath's Theater, I didn't expect to like it that much because I was like, I don't think I care about this guy. He just sounds like a jerk. And I think that for me as a reader anyway, that authors who are good enough can make me care about protagonists that I don't necessarily like, and I enjoy that. I think that I overuse the word earnest a lot in my own writing, and I think that it's because when I think of how people are, to me it's this essential quality. To what extent someone is in earnest, whether it's just socially in what they're saying, or in terms of how seriously they're pursuing whatever it is they're pursuing. And I don't know a good substitute for it, and I think I just had to try to cut it out of my book, because it's always like, he said so-and-so, or he said whatever, earnestly, or so I was thinking about that. And then the other one I use a lot is serious, which I just use to mean not humorless, but someone being in earnest. I have to watch those. Something I'm struggling with so much right now, the idea of trying to find an idea for a new novel. And The Love Affairs of Nathaniel P. is my first published novel, but I've written a novel before that, so I feel like I have had experience of coming up with 2 novel ideas. And both, there was a moment where the idea just seemed to take hold and capture my imagination. And it would be months before I was ready to start writing, but I'd be thinking about the idea and the characters. And I haven't had that happen yet for a new novel, and I cannot pretend that I'm not completely stressed out about it. I hope it happens, but and maybe if it doesn't just happen on its own, I'll probably have to ask other writers what they do and try to generate an idea. But I'm just waiting. If you have any ideas for me, I'd love to hear them.
control.